release of the brand new Borderlands movie, it got me thinking, what video games need movie or TV adaptations in the coming years? Because for damn sure, Borderlands would not have made this list if I made it 2 weeks ago. But we've had a lot of video game adaptations over the last few years because finally, after like a decade of trying to make good video game adaptations and failing, we've had a bunch of pretty good ones. Mainly with the Mortal Kombat movie, which I thought was really solid, The Last of Us show, and most recently, Fallout, which ended up being like the biggest show of the year somehow. So I got 8 video games here that I want to see made into movies or TV shows. I just want to remind you, I have not played every video game of all time, so I'm sure there are a few that would make very good movies or TV shows, but yeah, I haven't played them. I don't know anything about them, so let me know down below. Also, some of these may or may not be in active development. I tried to keep the ones that I know for sure are being made off this list, but I might be wrong on some of them. First up is Metal Gear Solid. Now, of course, I just said some of these are in active development. This is one of them. This one's been in development for years and years and years. Jordan Rott Roberts, who directed Kong Skull Island, has been attached to do this movie forever. He is a massive fan of the Metal Gear series. He's got the blessing from Hideo Kojima himself, and he's been talking about this film for a very long time. We've even gotten some concept art. And of course, Oscar Isaac is attached to play Solid Snake, I believe. But this film has been in development hell for so long that I'm at the point where I don't know if it's going to be made. So I want to make my point right now of saying this movie needs to be made. Metal Gear is made for the big screen. Really anything Hideo Kojima has made is made for the big screen. I could put Death Stranding on this list. I haven't, because I'm not 100% sure if that needs to be made into a movie. But Metal Gear Solid is so cool. An espionage war story following this stealth badass of Snake. Whether it is Solid Snake or Big Boss, whether it's an adaptation of Metal Gear 1 or Metal Gear 3 or even any of them. Like, it really doesn't make a difference. Make any of them into a film, not a TV show. It would really only work as a film, and it would be incredible. I love the casting of Oscar Isaac, even though I think Chris Evans would have been a much better casting, but either way, this movie needs to be made. It could be a big budget action kind of political thriller, and God, this one is long overdue. Then we got Final Fantasy. Now, I know we've gotten a bunch of animated Final Fantasy stuff, but we've never had like a true live-action movie, at least one. I don't know, maybe Japan's made a couple of them, but when Japan does their live-action adaptations of some things, they're not very good. Some of them are, don't get too mad at me, I'm sure there's one or two that are great. I'm just thinking of that Full Metal Alchemist kind of live-action thing that they did. When I say Final Fantasy, I mean pretty much any of them. There are a lot of these games that would make a great live-action. I think Final Fantasy VII, obviously, it's the one that I have the most experience with, would be an incredible movie, or maybe even a series. Maybe too big to be a series, honestly. Maybe you gotta shrink it down and do a couple movies. But at the same time, I think Final Fantasy VII has kind of been done to death since we've gotten a remake and another remake, and we're gonna eventually get a third remake to complete the remake trilogy. Do we really need more Final Fantasy VII? I don't know. Maybe take one of the other very large games that is not going to be remade into a full-blown game and make that into a movie. Like Final Fantasy VI, which, I mean, they might make a remake for that eventually, but that's something that is not as broad with its exposure to the general public. That could be a very, very cool movie. I think even Final Fantasy I, it's a simple story and could be a launching off point for a Final Fantasy movie franchise because it's so simple and so digestible for new audiences. I love Final Fantasy 16. I think that would be cool, although it's the newest one. Final Fantasy IX also could be a very interesting animated film, and I know I said not animated films, but that could be a really cool one. Let's get like Studio Ghibli involved. Oh, so good. It would be amazing. The Legend of Zelda. Now, this is one we're pretty sure is coming from the guy that just directed the new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie, and yeah, I'm excited for that, but I just want to preference something. This is one that I feel like should not be live action. It should be animated, and I believe the one that's being made is going to be live action, so I'm going to preference this and say I'm not taking that one seriously because I want an animated Legend of Zelda. Part of the charm of Legend of Zelda is the evolution of the art style and how whimsical and beautiful it is and how creative Nintendo is with their art style, and I feel like doing it in live action and trying to just make kind of a fantasy story, a Lord of the Rings thing, is going to take away the magic of Lord of the Rings. I believe, yet again, I just mentioned them, you bring in Studio Ghibli and you make an anime-style Legend of Zelda with beautiful animation, a great art style, amazing music, you can have one of the best movies ever. And with kind of like this resurgence of animation due to the Spider-Verse films, and you have the new Transformers thing coming out, I think it's a no-brainer to do an animated Zelda movie. Doesn't seem like we're getting that, but that's what I would want. Telltale's The Walking Dead. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to get a Walking Dead movie. They were supposed to be making a Rick Grimes Walking Dead movie, but guess what? It didn't happen. Instead, we got a TV show. And we know that AMC and Scott Gimple is going to continue making these Walking Dead shows, and maybe a movie. I would like to see the next big thing from them be an adaptation of Telltale's The Walking Dead. This is one of the best stories ever, and I think there's been enough years gone by that there are a lot of people that might be Walking Dead fans that have not been exposed to the story of Lee and Clement Clementine in the early parts of The Walking Dead. It is emotional. It's one of the best stories ever told in a video game that maybe doesn't get as much credit as it used to. It literally launched Telltale into one of the biggest gaming companies in the world before they went bankrupt and kind of closed down. They came back though, right? I don't know if this would be a TV show. I feel like you could do it in a 2-hour movie and do it really, really well. I would love to see this. And yeah, hopefully that's the direction that Scott Gimple is going to take The Walking Dead. I have a couple from Rockstar, and it's the obvious ones. First up, GTA 5. I mean, this kind of writes itself. Who do you cast? Well, you cast the dudes that played the characters in the game. Yeah, they're a little older, but they look exactly like their characters. I mean, especially Stephen Ogg. Like, Stephen Ogg playing a live-action Trevor is something we have to see. This has to happen before we all perish from this world. Ned Luke could pull off Michael. I mean, it might be a little hard to pull up Franklin because he's clearly the same age as all these guys and not, you know, like 20 years younger like he is in the game. But still, I don't know if we need to see a GTA 5 direct adaptation of that story, or maybe just a continuation of those characters in movie form. People would love it. GTA is the biggest franchise in the world for video games. How has this not happened? Maybe it's just Rockstar not wanting to do a GTA movie. I don't know. And then, of course, Red Dead Redemption. This one is even more obvious, and it should be a television show, not a movie. I think a movie is too small for the scope that you would need for Red Dead Redemption. I think you should get Kevin Costner to come in and play Arthur. I'm kidding. I don't care who you get to play these guys, but an adaptation of Red Dead Redemption 2, even Red Dead Redemption 1, I feel like it would make more sense to start at 2. Doing that game, it's such a beautiful story. It's so epic and huge, and just so much happens, and you could do so much, and there's so many great opportunities to get actors that could put on Emmy performances with these characters. This is just something that would be so awesome. I love the Western genre. I love the game, and this feels like a no-brainer, and one that is probably going to happen eventually. Probably should have already happened, but I think Rockstar is maybe a little too clingy with their franchises. They don't want them to go into film just yet. Next up, Mirror's Edge. One that I haven't really seen anybody talk about. Mirror's Edge is a very, very cool game that, you know, had a very kind of poor sequel. It's a game that used to be very popular, at least in my day and age. It's a game that takes place in sort of this weird future where this dystopian evil government is sort of controlling everything, and it's a game about parkour. You're playing as this chick who jumps around buildings, and it's just really cool. It's one of those games that if you made a movie, you would probably have to build an entire new plot that's a little bit detached from the games to do right, but I just think the visual art style of the world and the concept of parkour in the future with like this evil corporation government thing running everything could be really cool. And Mirror's Edge is a cool title. You could sell a Mirror's Edge movie. I think this would be awesome. And then we have Infamous. In a world with 1 billion superhero movies, why not do an Infamous one? A really dark, R-rated movie about a world of people that are suddenly superheroes, and this guy who gets these electrical powers, and it could be so cool. If you've never played Infamous, go play them. They're such cool games. Some of the best superhero games out there. Maybe the best ones. And this could be such a dark story that kind of is more in line with a Zack Snyder, Watchmen sort of tone. About this guy dealing with the morality of should he be a good guy? Should he be a bad guy? You can implement that into the movie like it is in the game in some creative way. I think Infamous would make for such a great superhero experience. Something that would be more of a sort of new representation of what superhero movies could be in a world of the Marvel and DC universes. And I got one more for all of you, and this is another one that's obvious. I can't believe it has not been made yet. A Call of Duty movie. I mean, this is the big... I said GTA was the biggest franchise. I actually think it's Call of Duty is the biggest franchise in the world. Seems easy. It seems obvious. Maybe it's just Activision? I don't know. Microsoft now in control of them? How do you not make this? And what would the story be? Well, it could literally be anything. It could be something that has nothing to do with the games and you just slap Call of Duty on it. It could be a World War II movie and yet again, just slap Call of Duty on it. Or it could be Modern Warfare. You cast Captain Price, you cast Soap, and you tell a story about them fighting Makarov. That could work. People love those characters and love that world. Or you could do a Black Ops movie. You can cast Sergeant Woods, and you can cast Mason, and you could tell that story. Either or would work. People would buy tickets to go see it, and it would be an epic, probably generic war movie. I'm not saying a Call of Duty movie would be good. More than likely, they would make the most generic, sort of action movie you can ever imagine. But it's still something that should be made just for the sake of making money. This is the corporate money hog in me saying, you're leaving money on the table, Activision. That's it. Those are all the games I want to see adapted. Let me know which ones I missed out. Let me know what you think down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, turn on notifications. I'll see you guys in the next one.